Hi guys, this is a walkthrough for assignment 65, which is today. So we're looking at number one. I'll do number one and then you can try number two. So it says, for what values is this thing undefined, right? So remember from our lesson that undefined means that the denominator is equal to 0. So basically, like, what would make the denominator equal to 0? So I'm going to be thinking about it in all of the pieces. I'm going to factor the denominator. I'm not going to worry about the numerator here, even though I know some things cancel, because the denominator is where I find those pieces where x cannot be. So I'm going to go ahead and x factor this because I see it has 3 parts. So I'm going to put what multiplies to get 8 and adds to get 6. So I know 8 is 1 times 8 or 2 times 4, 3 times nothing. Okay. So which of those would add to 6? I can see that that would be 2 and 4. So I'm going to go ahead and put x plus 2 and x plus 4 right here. And then I'm going to bring down the 4x. So what this question is asking is what x is not allowed to be, the things that are on the bottom. So I'm going to have 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things, because I see 3 different x's in my problem. So 4x is not allowed to be 0. X plus 2 is not allowed to be 0. And x plus 4 is not allowed to be 0. So I need to think about how can I make these 0? So I know that I can divide by 4 on both sides, and x is not allowed to be 0, right? Okay, so that's the first one. I can subtract 2 on both sides. So x is not allowed to be -2, and I can subtract 4 on both sides. So x is not allowed to be -4, right? That seems kind of complicated. Basically, all I need to do is take whatever is in here and flip the sign in order to figure out what the excluded value is. So take +2 and the opposite is -2. And then if x is ever just by itself, not adding or subtracting anything, then that is just going to be 0. So the 3 things that x is not allowed to be are 0, -2, and -4. So I'm going to look for that answer here, which I see is C. C is my correct answer. So you're going to go ahead and try that for number 2. And then you're going to post a picture of your work here. And then for this section here, you're going to go ahead and take a look at these problems. Each of these is its own problem. So you're going to do it on its own paper. For honors, you're doing 4 of them. For regular, you're doing 3. And for star, you're doing 2. So you can choose which ones you want to do. I'll do a couple of them here in the video. So we can just start with number 3, I guess. So for number 3, it says x times x minus 3, x plus 6, over x squared plus x minus 12. So for this one, I know that the top is already factored for me, which is really awesome. So I just need to factor the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and x factor with -12, and then that imaginary 1 there. So 12 is 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. I know one of them has to be negative, so I'm going to choose 3 and 4 and choose -3 so that it will be +1. So this will turn into x minus 3 and x plus 4 over x times x minus 3 times x plus 6. Awesome. So I factored things and now I need to cancel stuff. So I'm going to cancel the x minus 3's, and that's going to leave me with x times x plus 6 over x plus 4. That's going to be my answer there. I just need to put my warnings, the things that x cannot be, right? So x is not allowed to be 3, and x is not allowed to be -4. So this whole thing is my answer with my answer part as well as my excluded values. So that's number 3. If you're looking into maybe number 6 looks kind of challenging, so we'll try number 6. So don't think about this right now. Okay, so for the top part, I see this part needs to be x factored. So I'm going to do 64, what multiplies to get 64, adds to get -16, I need -8 and -8. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and write x minus 8, x minus 8. X plus 2 is just by itself. I'm going to go ahead and just write x plus 2 up here, along with my long division sign. I see that x squared and 64 are both squares. So I'm going to have x and x times 8 times 8. So, and it's subtraction. So this is the difference of squares here. So I'm going to have x plus 8, x minus 8. And then I can see for this one here that there's 3 parts. So I'm going to x factor if I can, negative 16, negative 6. 16 is 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 4 times 4. In order to get negative 6, I want to use 2 times 8. And I want negative 6, so we use negative 8. So I'm going to have x plus 2, x minus 8. Cool. So for this one, I need to cancel things that are similar on top and on bottom. Not just similar, but exactly the same. So x minus 8 can cancel with x minus 8. This x minus 8 can cancel with this x minus 8. And I see x plus 2 can cancel with x plus 2. So I'm left with just x plus 8 on the bottom. And since there's nothing up there, I have that imaginary one. As always, imaginary one goes here. This would be my answer for that one. I need to put my excluded values. So I need to go back and look at everything that was on the bottom. So I might even like erase this a little bit just so I can see. All right, so out of here, I would have negative 8. Out of here, positive 8. Out of here, negative 2. And out of here, positive 8. I don't need to write them more than once. So, and I'm going to write them in lowest to highest. So I'm going to write negative 8, comma, negative 2, comma, 8 from lowest to highest. So those are my warnings for this problem. That's number 6. If you have any questions, I'll be at Zoom, email, or text me anytime. Thanks, guys.